Hey guys, that's Melissa on cam for half a sec, and now I swivel the camera out of the frame. Look, this is a real brief commentary about Patreon, a website that has generated the vast majority of my income in all of the years I have been on the internet making an income. It's a website that in many ways I'm grateful to, even though it is a website that I am, in a pretty literal sense, censored by. So not so long ago, a couple months ago, my Patreon was classified as 18 plus adult only. It was put in the same category as porn. Now, guys, if this is even the first video you've ever seen on my YouTube channel, you get an idea of just how PG-13 it is. Look, we even have maple syrup on camera. Wholesome.
Who knows what we do with them?
You had to take it there. This is wholesome, family-friendly, politically provocative, mind-altering entertainment. I talk about politics, I talk about my life, I talk about studying languages. I end up talking about international travel. Right now we are in Germany, which is actually implicitly obvious to some of the objects on this table. Yeah, right, even the maple syrup is in German. So this is Canadian maple syrup. I don't want to rep that brand. It just wasn't that good. Sorry, just how I feel about it. No big deal.
No,
I just don't feel
said German on it.
Yeah, but the maple syrup, I can rep this maple syrup, sure. One of Canada's few exports to Germany. Look. It is ridiculous that Patreon classified my content as adult only, as 18 plus, as porn, and now if you join my Patreon login, you have to click through some screens like I'm willing to watch adult entertainment, and that is just because of the videos I've made giving advice on dating, and there was one video that had cocaine in the title. Now, I am against cocaine. I have many videos here, actually, that have cocaine in the title. That wasn't the first, but whenever I'm talking about cocaine, it's not positive. I think nobody should do cocaine. I think cocaine should be illegal, actually. I'm not in favor of legalization or loosening up those laws. Nevertheless, Patreon did censor me. And nevertheless, I'm still grateful the platform is still supported. So what's going on right now? Why is there this huge backlash, especially from people like Jordan Peterson against Patreon, when the high-profile cases of them censoring people are in fact reasonable and inevitable? And if you just think through, if you were in the position of being the CEO or executive director of Patreon, what would you do? What would you do when neo-Nazis use your platform for fundraising? You don't want that to be what your platform is about. What's your corporate policy? How do you define it? How do you enforce it? If you just think sympathetically, this series of controversies, really inevitable, really not the evil conspiracy theory that people want to make it out to be. Something you would have to deal with yourself if you were in those people's position. The other side of it you have to sympathize with is that people like Jordan Peterson built up expectations. They came on Patreon and made promises they could never fulfill and they never wanted to fulfill if you donated a certain amount of money. In Peterson's case, he used to specifically do one-on-one therapy sessions with people, basically Skype coaching them via Skype, talking about their problems. If they donated over a certain amount of money, I remember a journalist who interviewed him and witnessed one of those sessions, and, some people were paying a lot of money to have some time with the great. He stopped doing that. He phased that out. He used to promise if he received over a certain amount of money, he would actually start his own university. I don't know if you guys remember that he would start taking on students, and there were all these grandiose, specific promises. He is a grandiose fantasist. He is the kind of guy who makes ridiculous, harebrained schemes and then can't live up to them. And how is he going to get himself out of them? In terms of the people who have been kicked off Patreon, really stop and think about what position you would be in if you have a policy. It doesn't define who gets freedom of speech and who doesn't. It defines who gets to earn an income through charitable fundraising on your website and who does not. And there are people who are overt neo-Nazis who have been kicked off of Patreon. I've seen it happen. There are white supremacists who have been quote-unquote deplatformed. And when I look at the details, in some cases I know, because I've made videos criticizing the same people. People like Faith Goldie and Corey McCarthy's girlfriend, I forget her name, Tara McCarthy. Yeah, I've seen people deplatformed where if I were the CEO, if I were the executive director, I would make the exact same decision myself. And then on the other hand, we have people who are trying to make an impressive ethical gesture out of them turning their backs on Patreon, when in reality, what it is they want to turn their backs on and walk away from is accountability. Accountability to your audience, living up to the promises you made. If you got $100 a month from somebody, or $10,000 in total, $5,000, whatever it was, a lot of people set targets they thought they would never hit, and they didn't really think about following through with those promises, living up to what they'd committed to achieve. So now, when the bill shows up at the end of the meal, it's a lot easier to pretend that Patreon did nothing for you, that didn't help make you who you are and what you are, that you have no gratitude towards them. And in reality, this is just a slap in the face to your audience. Jordan Peterson, you didn't deliver on any of your promises that you made the basis for your fundraising campaign. And when I look at people like Sam Harris, to me, you also are a hollow phony with feet of clay. And that's the ultimate thing about charity. All charity is political. All fundraising is political. It doesn't have to be a formal political party. Just like donating to the Republican Party or the Democrat Party, people are donating to you and they're expecting outcomes. And if you fail to get those outcomes, you've got to show that whatever, you went to City Hall, you went to Parliament, or you did everything you possibly could to take that donor's money and give voice to the message you're supposed to give voice to accomplish the things you set out to accomplish. And in the case of people like Dr. Peterson and Sam Harris, these people took your money and they went on permanent vacation.